It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Me too. So let's dive into your world. I want to know, before we get into your life as a mentor and a speaker and a podcast host, 6 years ago, this pandemic changed our lives, changed
Mhm.
so much about the way we did things. How
Yeah.
did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you do things and work today?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And for me, it was so during the pandemic, in 2018, I lost my father to a years long battle with alcohol. And then 6 months later, my mom committed suicide. And then we hit the pandemic. So it was like back to back to back. So right when my father passed, I already had this feeling inside of me that life is much bigger than what we've been told. Like life is so short, there's got to be more that we can do. Then I lost my mom, and then I was really like, okay, like there is so much more life to live. Like things happen at an instance, and then the whole world kind of reflected back to me that feeling that I have of like, we don't, nothing's for sure,
Yeah.
but how we feel, how we control our day to day, how we control our emotions is ultimately the only control that we have, right? And so I quit my comfy, cozy salary job and I said, to hell with it. I'm letting the universe and source and the world just kind of help me navigate this new chapter. And I was beautifully met with, wow, I really can create my own reality here. Like I really can move through life with my own paintbrush. Like I get to design life how I want to. And I know for so many people during the pandemic, they really lost like their sense of identity, right? Because so many people tie their identity with the work that they do, with their actual output, their physical output in the world. And if they lose that, it's kind of like, well, who am I? If I don't have my job to go to, if I don't have, X, Y, and Z, this hobby that I have, this activity, whatever, what do I do? And I really felt like I was able to usher people through that identity shift, really show them like, well, guess what? You get a beautiful opportunity to decide who you are as a person without all this extra stuff tied to you.
Yeah.
And so it really shaped me in my mentorship because I kind of got met with everyone dealing with the same crisis at once, which was the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so it really allowed me to lead in a way of so much uncertainty. So it helped strengthen me as a leader and a mentor because I felt like I was doing it through literal fire, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. To get a handle on all of these titles that you have and everything that you do, if you synthesized what you do on a daily basis for it to make sense to a 13-year-old brain at
Yeah.
career day in a school, how do you explain to one of the kids that wants to
Mhm.
know what you do for a living?
That is, wow. Okay. I love that because I'm a new mom too. So I always think like, how am I going to teach my son? Like, what does mom do? What is it? So
Huh?
that I love that. For 13-year-olds, my gosh, they are going through the biggest transition of
Yeah.
their life, So I feel like for a 13-year-old brain, I would really tell them that as much as we think that what other people, their opinions of us matter, what I do is I help you only care about your own opinion.
Yeah.
I help you be so secure in yourself, in your work, in your identity that you don't really need other people's yays or nays because regardless, you're still so secure in you. And that's what I help people do.
So what did you want to be when you were a kid, say in that 10 to 13 teenage realm? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be on Mad TV. I wanted
Love
to
it.
be Stuart. I wanted to be Luann. I wanted to be on the big screen making people laugh. Um, and that was like the big dream, right? Like I really wanted to bring that kind of joy to people because I watched that at a young age until it got canceled.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really should have been allowed to watch it when I did, but I did and I loved it because it was something that we all enjoyed doing together and being, just in the same room watching it. And I started learning about the power of the mind and the power of, just connecting with the bigger picture, right? Whenever I was 13, 14, 15 years old. But I thought I was late to the game. I thought everyone had this knowledge and like, Mom, Dad, you should have been teaching me this when I was a baby. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind. So I thought everyone just knew it, right? And then I got to be an adult and I realized, wow, not enough people really understand the power that we have within us.
Yeah.
to let me teach them. But I do it through a little bit of a comedic lens, very lighthearted. Like we don't get real deep and like in it, because it doesn't require that. It
Right.
really doesn't require that. So I guess you could say that I did blend that childhood dream into what I do now.
Uh-huh.
It's just a little bit more impactful than just being Stuart on Mad TV.
Yeah. I actually just yesterday went by a magazine rack and stopped and looked at the Mad magazine because I just remember how groundbreaking it was as a kid. I love Spy versus Spy and all those little spoof offs, but the fact that it's still going and it's still on racks in 2026, that's quite a testament to its power.
It really is, honestly.
Yeah.
I only ever see them at Barnes and Noble. But the fact that they're still there
Yeah.
at a large bookstore like Barnes and Noble says a lot.
Oh yeah, it's wild. So let me ask you this. Who was your inspirational force in your life? Not only early on, but as you've developed and found your voice and refined the way that you look at life. Who has been that hero inspiration for you?
I don't necessarily know if there's one singular person. Um, because a lot of what I do is in the online space. So I really love people who are doing it messy. I love seeing the people who are building these incredible, beautiful things without the most pristine visuals going on in the background. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
really love and get inspired by people who say, I don't have a plan, I'm figuring it out and I'm making it happen along the way. And I see it so often, especially online, because every time we scroll, we're getting introduced to a new face, a new person. When you look in the podcast world, you find a new podcast to listen to, and you're listening to these podcasts that aren't these beautiful curated productions, but what they say and what they're bringing to the stage online, podcast world, whatever, is so much more impactful. And they're doing it without a true, honest, foundational piece. They just know what they want to do and they want to spread it. And I think that is the most inspirational thing to me.
So if you could have anybody on the planet be on your podcast, you could interview them, get into their minds. Who would you love to interview and talk to?
Wow, that's that. Wow. I haven't ever thought about that. Man, if I could pick anyone's brain, it would be the people who live completely different than we do. Have you seen those documentaries where it's people that live like in the
Uh-huh.
Arctic parts of like Russia? They don't
Uh-huh.
have any idea like of what our normal day-to-day stuff is.
Yep.
I want to interview them. I want to know like what is your desirable thing, because
Yeah.
here like in America a lot of it's money and the nice luxury things, but I want to talk to the people that are so far removed from our normal day and really get their worldview of their little communities,
Yeah.
because we don't, yes, the internet and podcasts make it so available to us to get a little inside access, but I want like a deep conversation with someone who's actually in it every single day.
I always ask towards the end of my interviews if you can get into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history. I've thought about that, what I would do. I would
Mhm.
want to see the first domesticated cat. Like what the behaviors would be like, right? Because ultimately cats picked us, but they're a
Yeah.
very peculiar breed. So what was the very first cat thinking? What is it really kind of an asshole? Was it kind of like happy to be around humans? Was it a hybrid of both? Like, how did that first cat? What kind of cat was it? Like, those are things, just like you said, those obscure, rare things about what has been mutated into this commonality for all of us. That would be kind
Yeah.
of fun, you know?
I think so too, because you hear about, or in like the Egyptian times, there's cats in all their paintings, and the cats were treated like royalty. And
Yeah.
it is true. It's like, who decided, when did it shift from this royal thing to you're my cat, I own you
Yes. Yes,
now?
exactly. That would be
Yeah.
totally cool. So let me ask you this. Talk to me a little bit about your career. Take me back to where you were born and raised, and what were kind of some of these seeds that were planted that grew into this career that's evolved to where you're at today?
Absolutely. I was born and raised in Texas, native Texan. So I feel a little bit different than the people that are like, oh yeah, I moved there from another state in my
Uh-huh.
20s. I'm like, I was born and raised here. Okay. So I
Yeah.
have that level of identity to myself.
Yeah.
And, I grew up in a house where it was really encouraged to ask questions, kind of go against the authoritative nature, to really like think for yourself, kind of. So that alone allowed me to really kind of dive into all of the weird metaphysical things. I remember too being a kid and we would watch like the magicians on TV. not necessarily like David Blaine, but those kind of like mind magicians where it's
Yeah.
like you can do this with your mind. And I was obsessed with that kind of stuff. I mean, we would record it and rewatch it back over and over and over. We would listen to Art Bell on the radio. So for those of you who are listening who don't know Art Bell, he's a UFO, AM radio, like they were abducted by the Greys kind of host. And just the people he would have on there were so interesting to me. And some of them were scary. Again, don't know if I should have been listening to that at like 5, 6 years old, but it always stuck with me because I just thought, wow, there are so many different lenses of our world that everyone operates differently from. Even someone who was also born and raised in Texas, they might have a completely different worldview than I. And so that alone kind of started the question of, okay, if we all have different lenses on, what is all of our like connectedness? Where do we all kind of can be on the same wavelength with things?
Yep.
And it boils down to just enjoying the ride,
Yeah.
right? You think of yourself when you're 80 years old, right? And you're seeing your grandkids and all these things, and you're like, what would I want to tell myself now if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s? Like, what would you want to tell yourself? And it's always the same thing, right? It's enjoy the ride, have fun. I wish I would have realized that these were like my golden years. And that too, growing up kind of with that, there was a lot of, I don't want to, we'll say like death in my upbringing. Like I went to so many funerals and, you just hear the same kind of conversations, like if they would have had a few more years, they would have really loved to travel or to quit their job. And I always thought like, well, why are people waiting?
Yeah.
What's the big holdup? And a lot of it is these limiting beliefs, these programs that we put on our brain to live up to some potential that someone else put on us when that's not true happiness.
Yeah.
True happiness is realizing that you get to be the designer of your life, but it's having the uncomfortability of unlearning all of that, that not enough of us are empowered to do. But I want to make it my life's mission to empower others to unlearn all of the crap that's been put on you and decide today, here and now, that you do get to be the one who changes the trajectory of your life if you choose to get uncomfortable and do so. So it's the desire of wanting to help others, but not in the normal, like charitable way of helping others.
Sure.
It's more of like I want to kind of shake you until all of the programming falls out of your ears and we're able to kind of build a beautiful thing for you together. Like that is what rewarding is to me.
It's a little bit like existentialism. You just got to shake all of that history that gets gummed up in you and just look at the future. So I got to know, with the UFO painting and kind of the talk about extraterrestrials, have you read Chariots of the Gods? Have you read that book?
No, I
Oh,
haven't.
you have to. It's
Okay.
so they made it into a series and it was in the 80s. And
Okay.
it was a bestseller. It was translated into every language. The whole idea is that this advanced race of alien that was human came back and basically saved us from annihilation. So all of the pyramids, all of
Mhm.
those ancient ruins, the Mayan calendar, the Aztecs, all of these things that are advanced for the time that it was going on, that we are totally baffled. I mean, even that I've been in the Pantheon and I've looked up at the circle and they had no idea. And you're like, wow, who did that? How did it happen? And they're talking about the fact that there was an advanced race that came from the future and basically saved us. Now, it may seem hokey to a lot of people, but the way he constructs it, and it's not even like this is fact, but this is all like deeply suppositional that this could have happened, because look at just even with AI right now. The
Oh, I
reason why
know.
it freaks us out is because we read Arthur C. Clarke. We've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. We know what humans can do, right? You
Yeah.
know? So,
Absolutely. And that's something that I kind of talk about in the work that I do. I tell people, can you imagine the person who thought of the internet, who decided like, I'm going to bring the internet, like I'm going to create this thing. You try to explain that to someone and they're like, we don't even have light bulbs. What are you talking about the internet? Like that's so crazy. And they had the belief in them that they could do it.
yep.
They identified with, I'm going to be the grandfather of the internet, and they did it.
Uh-huh.
And it all starts in your mind.
That's
Like
it.
like everything. That UFO painting was someone's idea in their head and they brought it to life.
Yeah,
Podcasting was an idea that was brought to life, you
absolutely.
know? And with AI, especially too, like I think that what could happen is completely out of our like wildest imaginations, and it's happening so quick that
Uh-huh.
it does offer up the question of like reverse engineering. It's like, how come? So you're telling me from the 80s to the 90s, we just all of a sudden got really good at technology, and now like from 2023 to 2026, we got really good at this AI thing. So it's all so fascinating, but whether it was reverse engineered or not,
Yeah.
it still took our human brains to get it to where it is now,
Yep.
which if we could create this in the reality, our physical reality, then imagine what else we can create in our
Oh,
physical
yeah.
reality.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is it that motivates you to do this work? Because obviously, you've gone through your level of trauma that you've dealt with. Then you have to hop into other people's lives and their
Mhm.
potential traumas to help them. What is
Yeah.
that for you every day to do this work, to protect yourself and to do it at a high level?
To protect myself from it, I'll start there, is I know at the end of the day that I'm not responsible for others. I'm only responsible for myself. And if someone chooses to do any kind of work, whether it's something that I'm having them do or someone else, that's their own level of commitment. And I simply know for myself, like I can't carry that with me. When I do have clients that come to me, or even people that will just tell me stories of their own that's horrible and it's traumatic and it's heartbreaking, but at the end of the day, I know that the journeys that they're on, no matter how traumatic, it's only meant to be for them, not to them.
Yeah.
And so that whole belief system that I have in myself is what allows me to go to sleep at night without stressing about people and what they're going through, because I know for me, I came to Earth to experience life in this, human body, if you will, and I dealt with what I had to deal with and will continue to deal with things that I don't know were going to happen to me, but I know that it's all meant for me, right? Like if my parents hadn't have passed away the way that they did, I would have never had the courage to quit my comfy, cozy job and start doing this.
Hmm.
And I look back on it now that I'm a mom and I'm like, man, I wish my son could see my parents and know them, but I know that he might not even be here if they were still here. So it's all just understanding like the butterfly effect, right? Everything happens for a reason. Everything is happening for us. And it's the mentality that I help teach others is that you aren't victim to your circumstance, unless you choose to be, of course. But if you choose to look at your circumstances and go, I'm going to let this light of fire under me or let it burn me down, however you decide to go about them says everything about you and your ability to handle anything that you're going to experience through life. And that alone makes me feel comforted knowing that I'm just helping usher people through these hard times rather than trying to fix it for them.
So, a level of butterfly effect in our lives is that
Hmm.
sometimes people do really nice things for us, whether
Hmm.
we know them well or it's fleeting. What's one of the nicest things that somebody's done for you that's made a deep impact or that's changed the trajectory of your life? Have you had a moment like that?
Absolutely. There's so many people that are flooding to my brain right now that can be answered in this question. And what they all have done for me isn't like that they've gifted me something or that they've done something for me. It's the true unshakable belief that they have in me, right? It's the unwavering amount of support that people, even like I remember in middle school, my middle school science teacher, shout out Miss Shaben, she always told me like, Alyssa, like you have this energy about you that I don't know that you know, but it's going to do really great things. And I never took that as just words or like she's just being my teacher. Okay, whatever. I always took that as, wow, someone believes in me so deeply and thinks so much highly of me. And it's been the people, and also I choose to keep that type of people in my life. Like I don't allow people in my life who can't see my big picture or at least clap for my big picture
Hmm.
genuinely. So I think just showing that kind of support has always been my motivator. Like it's the hey, why are you upset right now, Alyssa? Like you have you seen, like let me remind you of all the things that you've overcome and brought to life and done for others. Like it's that level of reassurance and reminding when I do have my own human time of, oh my God, is anyone listening? Is this thing on? Like am I shouting into the void?
Yeah,
Right? Like I don't know if I can keep going. It's the unwavering support, and we all have that. We
yeah,
get told all the time through the news and through others that people are bad and they want to see you struggle. And I don't think that's true.
right.
People genuinely want strangers to do good, you
Yep.
know? I mean, think of all like watching the Olympics.
Hmm.
We don't know these people, but when they do good, you feel good. You're like, yes, good for you. You kicked ass. You did so great.
Yep.
When you see someone not do so well, your heart breaks and you're like, man,
Yeah.
please get back up and keep going. Like, we know you have it in you. Like, we all genuinely are rooting for the good of each other.
Yeah.
And it's just remembering that is the best gift that we have.
Yeah, it is true. And I think that's why I love podcasting. There's all this gray area. I think we're all much more aligned than we
Yep.
are separate. I mean, the media makes us feel like we're all like on completely polar opposites, but we really
Yeah.
are mingling in the gray area all the time.
We
And
are.
yeah, and going towards the same things. So let me ask
Yeah.
you this. If you had a dream tonight, ran into that young version of you that wanted to be on Mad TV, and you walked into the room and there was a film projector next to that young version of you, and you click play and there was 60 seconds of a highlight reel of the way that your life has turned out so far, would that young version of you believe that this happened?
No. No. Yes and no. No, I think she would be like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, I can't believe what's happening right now. But I also think it would be like, but how?
Yeah.
How? And to speak to that, our brains, even young, baby Alyssa, all of us, baby us, it's logic based because we're taught to be logic based. Well, that doesn't make sense. Does that make sense? You know, it's the living in a little bit of the, well, let's just see what happens.
Hmm.
You know, instead of thinking, little me might go, how did you do that? How
Yeah.
did that, like, I need the step by step process instead of just trusting that it can happen. And I want to speak to that because we are so obsessed with what makes logical sense. But I want to ask everyone who's listening to think of times whenever something really beautiful and incredible happened in your life. Was it the most logical? Probably not.
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you were to walk into a room of all of your clients, everyone that's known you in a business sense throughout your life, and you could walk to a podium and tell them a fun story, the first concert you went to, jumping out of an airplane, outrunning a bear, just some kind of fun story that they may see you in a little bit of a different light. What would be a fun story you would tell that room?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind. So I used to be a corporate restaurant manager for a large corporate restaurant company. And I was 22 years old, so young baby. Everyone told me, like, I can't believe you got hired to do this at such a young age. Well, one morning, it was a Sunday morning, which is the busiest day of the week for this restaurant. We have the church crowd, we have all the people who didn't want to take their kids out on Friday come in. And so there's always a lot of prep that goes in. We get there at 8 a.m. and it was in an older restaurant, and we had a little bit of an electrical fire. And one of my line cooks who spoke Spanish came out and he's like, fuego, fuego. And I speak a little bit of Spanish. I'm here in Texas, so I know like kitchen Spanish. I don't know like day-to-day Spanish. And so I
Yeah.
knew fuego is not good. That means fire.
Yeah.
So I run out, I see a little bit of smoke, but I err on a little bit of the dramatic side. Personally, I'm a little dramatic. But I saw that little smoke and I lost my mind. I started screaming and cussing at all of my line cooks, like, everyone get the F outside. Let's go, let's go. Get your stuff, let's go. And I had, 911 on the phone. I'm telling them there's a fire and we're all outside. I get everyone outside. There's probably 12 of us, and the fire truck comes and I run in front of the fire truck to get to the front of the restaurant to unlock the door when I had the back door to the restaurant wide open for all of us to get out. But my brain was like, you got to unlock the front door for the firefighters or else they're going to bust it down. And my director is going to be mad that they had to break a door. I run in front of a fire engine who's coming to save the restaurant from this fire. And at the end, they put the fire out, no damage, thank God. But one of the firefighters came to me, and I know he knew it was me that he's talking to when he says this because I'm the only one wearing like normal clothes. Everyone else is wearing like kitchen, black slacks, black t-shirt, and I have like a floral shirt on and blue navy slacks, and my hair's done. And he's like, hey, man, I just want to let you know that next time you call for a fire department to come and put a fire out, please make sure you and your employees don't run in front of the fire trucks. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So I just dramatically bolted in front of this
Sure.
fire truck to help them put the fire out.
Yeah.
When they're like, stay out of the way, it's an emergency.
Right. That's great. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the story. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done, overcome and evolved to, what are you the proudest of?
Never giving up.
Yeah.
I have always been so ambitious and so just whatever you tell me, I don't care if it's good, bad, or ugly. I'm going to keep doing what my gut is telling me to do, and I don't ever give up. I've had those, of course, I have the moments of, oh my God, what is happening? But I only allow myself 5 minutes to live in that. I literally set a timer and I'm like, only 5 minutes, cry, get it out, feel like trash about yourself. I don't care. When that timer goes off, we have stuff to do.
Uh-huh.
We have an empire to run. We have lives to change. We don't be having time to be boo-hooing. You gotta wipe off your tears and let it go.
Yeah,
But I'm very proud that I have never, ever, ever wavered and said, I give up with anything.
sure. So one more step into this. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that you work with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I really think that I'm someone who feels deeper than I let off, you know, but I'm also someone who is the most regulated person I've ever met. It does, not a whole lot really shakes me, like I'm very secure in that foundation of myself. So when I get presented wild, crazy things from, clients, friends, family, whatever, like I'm always the very grounded and neutral standpoint. And I definitely think that that is true to everything that I do. I am very much even keel, level ground. It is what it is. It's happening for me, not to me. And I think that's a very foundational piece of who I am.
So let's get back to the question that I had about the time machine. You can get into the time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history. What do you want to witness happen? Won't create a tear in time. You got to watch it and you got to come right on back if you want to.
Come right back. I've always said that I wanted to live through the Woodstock era.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just such a time like people didn't lock their doors.
Yeah.
People just did their own thing. Everyone was learning what it was like to be free and just do your own life. And I wish I could have been like 22 years old experiencing that.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be
But I
cool.
also love this time too. I
Yeah.
also am very grateful and thankful that I'm this age in this timeline because I think whenever I look back on my life, if I get to see it through a movie, I'm going to go, this was the perfect time for me to be alive.
Yeah. I totally get it. So if
Yeah.
anyone wants to tune into the podcast, hire you, they have questions, any of the good business, where do they go?
AlyssaSimpsonX.com. And my podcast is on Spotify and Apple, LimitLyss, LYSS, little play on words for my name,
Yeah.
with Alyssa Simpson. You can listen to all 120 episodes that are out.
I love it. Alyssa, thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful. Best of luck with everything. And I love that painting back there behind you too. Is that an Etsy find?
No, that one is a Alyssa original. I really
I love it.
love Salvador Dali, his melted clocks,
Oh
and I
yeah.
love evil eyes. So I was like, how can I do like a melted evil eye? So
Yeah.
that was my inspiration.
So you know what's weird about Dali? At one point, I think this was back in like the mid 2000s, Fantasia had all of these different films that didn't make the final cut, and
Oh,
Dali was one of them, and it was really wild. Like it, of course, as you know, Dali is already way on a whole other planet. You have to go into YouTube and look it up. It is
okay,
one
look.
of the weirdest videos, and the
What
fact
is
that
it? Fantasia Dolly?
yeah, do Fantasia, Dolly film or outtakes or something. And it's wild that they even gave him that creative latitude knowing what we know about Disney. But it's a trip. So, but
I
again, thank you
definitely
so much.
will.
Yeah, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your story, for your time. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I enjoyed talking to you, and we'll chat soon, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.